Alrighty, welcome to Romera Records podcast. Today we have on.
Hey, it's Viraj. I'm a digital strategist, artist manager, content creator in the works, etc. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So, I just ran into you when I was in Nashville for the Music Business Association, and you were at the studio. That's Kadeem's studio, right?
I don't know if I know he rents it out quite often.
Okay.
I don't know if he has any equity or ownership stake in it, but yeah, it is where we met. I believe you connected with my artist, Sun Person, and I was in the corner talking to, who was I talking to that day?
Is that dude from Dallas?
Yes, him.
I have no idea what his name is. I talked to him the whole time. I didn't catch his name.
You know what? I feel bad because I text him often too.
Oh, really?
I genuinely feel bad. I'm just terrible with names.
Are y'all all in the same company or group or something?
With us, no. He runs his own management company called Magnet House. Shout out to Magnet House. But Darian, that was his name. That's his not was his name. That is his name. I don't know why I just blanked on that. But he runs a management company called Magnet House. And they do artist management, and I believe they're stepping into sports management. And he has a few other ventures, something called Nomadics, which is, I believe, data consultation or marketing strategy of that nature. One of those kind of firms. But he does more so just marketing. From my understanding, my working relationship, that's what his ventures are in music. But yeah, he was one of the first people in music that I spoke to, I guess, and got guidance or advice from, if that makes sense, on a small scale.
So how did y'all meet?
He manages a friend of mine by the name of Tavis Trending. Tavis Trending is a photographer, artist, hip-hop artist, to be more specific. Well, let me not box him in, just an artist in general. And so me and Tavis went to middle school together, and then now we're both in the music space. And then I don't remember exactly how we connected. I believe he may have stumbled across my content one day and shot me a DM, or I may have shot him a DM, and then, it just went from there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love those, interactions that people have.
It's, I don't know if this is just a new generation thing, but I definitely feel as if there's a significant lack of ego amongst people my age.
Okay.
At least I would hope so. I mean, everyone I interact with, there's no me versus you, or I'm better. Everyone's just, we're willing to all work with each other, connect to the best of our ability, and go from there.
That's awesome, because I feel maybe my parents age group or whatever, they probably, I think they feel like they had that.
How old would that be?
They'd be in the 60s.
Okay. So is that Boomer?
I don't know.
Or is that Gen X, one of those?
Yeah. I feel like they kind of had that, because they had more of a, so looking at this psychologically, I feel like they had more of a, what I call a famine type society, where people felt like, oh, I've got to outdo everybody else,
right?
And, feed myself.
Yeah.
But we're in more of a feast.
Yeah,
type.
where it's we've come to the realization there's plenty for everybody.
Exactly.
There's no need for me to cut your neck to get what I need. That's interesting that they had that's very interesting that they had a famine type mindset, at least that you say that, because I feel like the 60s through 80s was the most booming the economy has been ever. They lived in the greatest economy, American economy at least, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel that way because I've seen
I can, and I see that
age
too.
Group,
Well, even to this day with people in that age group, and excuse me for anyone in that age group listening, but just older people seem to be so get it by your bootstraps and pull yourself up, and it's
because it's they had to, so they think everybody else should.
Well, and I have a theory. I'm not a historian or an economic historian by any means, but I do kind of feel like it was a bit easier than when college was $1,000 a month or a semester, and rent was significantly lower, and the cost of living as a whole was not as high as it is now.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Well, people also weren't making as much money, but still, with inflation the way it is now.
Yeah, it was I imagine $1 went a lot further than it does now.
Absolutely.
I think a 5 whole wing meal costs $20. So, if you like honey hot wings, it hurts your pockets a lot.
Absolutely. So when we were there, what all did you get done? You came to the studio.
That day was a busy day. So me and my artist, Sun Person, and D. Alexander, we met my house, I want to say closer to 8 a.m., 9 a.m., around that time frame. And then so the first thing we did, we actually went to a studio outside of Nashville, about an hour out. Really cool engineer. We met up with him. He gave us a lot of information and knowledge about sync licensing and just working with companies as opposed to selling your music directly to an audience. So theoretically, we would be selling music to like a Disney or like whatever the case may be, Nickelodeon, things of those natures, these conglomerates who are just looking to buy music at like wholesale value like that. So then after we left that, where did we go? We had a meeting with a booking company after that, and then we went to the studio session where we met you at. Studio session was just we were just hanging out with some of the people over there. Just chopping it up, how it goes. And then after that, we had another studio session over with the Digilog. Shout out to the Digilog, which was another just, go through, play your music. There's some decently high-level executives over there, really people just connecting the music industry as a whole, just meeting people, networking kind of situation. And then right after that, we went right into a interview to end the night. And then I think it's like 11, 10 o'clock at this point, grab dinner, and then it's a 3-hour mob back to Memphis. So it was an 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. day.
Oh, man.
It was a rough one. Rough one.
So when you were starting out your day, like, did everything go as planned, or did y'all end up like doing some different stuff?
No, it more or less went according to the plan. I will say we move somewhat militant and organized. So like if we're saying this is X, Y, and Z, and this is what we plan on doing, more than likely that's how the day ends up going.
See, I've noticed that like sometimes some of the best stuff can happen when it doesn't go to plan. Like you veer off,
and you veer off.
Something crazy happens.
Nothing like that day, unfortunately. Unfortunately, those days do tend to be very fun too when you just pop into something.
Yeah.
But no, that day it was just because the day was so jam packed with like we have to get this done. So it was like we just had all these arrangements to attend to.
So what are some things that you might go back to Nashville for?
Go back to Nashville for? Yeah. I know Nashville recently just had a music business conference week. I would love to go back to one of those, provided they come back in the next year. But I mean, just Nashville is a living city. So I mean, there's always going to be shows there to attend to. There's always going to be networking opportunities there. There's studios there. Like, and I don't want to like, throw anyone under the bus, but a lot of Memphis artists who want to just get out of the city and have a quiet place to work where they're not more known or whatever, they just go to Nashville for the weekend or two. So situations like that may arise. I can't give you anything specific off the top of the mind where I'd be back in Nashville soon, but I'm sure something will pop up.
Yeah, Nashville,
it's one of those cities.
It's got a lot going, and it depends on what you're really into, because Nashville kind of has a niche, but it's getting so big and broad that it's starting to get into the zone where it's like, well, anybody, no matter what you do, you can come here.
Yeah. And Nashville's a young, a young professional city from my understanding of it. Like there's a lot of new migrants coming into the city because there's a lot of companies based out of there now, especially like smaller, especially music industry, of course, but just in general. I don't know where I saw it, maybe some list somewhere on the internet. My attention span is short, but there's a lot like that indicates that Nashville is like one of the premier destinations for young professionals. So there's a lot going on over there.
Yeah.
I was born in Nashville, but I never actually lived there, so I can't tell you too much about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually from like northern Alabama, and
what part?
It's Aniana. It's close to Gadsden, Alabama.
Knew neither of those locations.
Do you know who Yellow Wolf is? Or
I do know Yellow Wolf. I know
Clever?
of Yellow Wolf. Yeah.
They're from Gadsden, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, so being close, I guess somewhat close to Nashville, a lot of the activities and stuff people do up there are usually pretty repetitive. Have you seen any big changes in cities like Memphis or Nashville and like this Tennessee area?
That's hard to say because I'm like 22. So like my reference point for Memphis, at least, I mean, I've been here since I was in kindergarten, right? So I can't say I'm sure there's been a lot. There's been a lot of development in the city of Memphis and like just the energy around Memphis for sure. I can't give like a super detailed take because I was like 5 years old, so I don't remember the details. But like, especially over the past 4 years, just with the development of like, Riverside and a lot of the development around East Memphis and Orange Mound, there's a lot of change in the city. Regardless of if you think it's positive or good, or if it's impacting low income neighborhoods, whatever the case may be, there's definitely a shift in the city. For sure. I'll say that. There's definitely a shift and there's a lot of developmental things going on.
Yeah, I'm definitely pro all that stuff because I love seeing a city actually use its space.
Right.
Like, a lot of times you'll go a place and like it's like the city doesn't even know what to do with its own real estate.
And Memphis is terribly planned for anyone who's not from here or for anyone who's from here. I believe there's, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure like when the city planning was going on, there wasn't like strict districting or like whatever the term may be for the civil engineers or whoever does city planning. Like from my understanding, it's a bit unstructured. Like there's not tight districts how it is set up in, like, for example, in Nashville, like you're gonna have all your residential areas here, all your food spots here. Like it's not set up like that. Like in Memphis, it's just kind of scatterbrained.
Yeah.
Like the best example I can give you, the University of Memphis is like in the middle of a train track. in a residential neighborhood on a random street. But I digress.
Yeah, I mean, like when cities figure that out, that's how you get that movement and that traction because people want to come to the events and what's going on, who's performing, all that kind of stuff. People want to come to the city if you have that stuff and it's nicely set up. But Memphis is kind of lacking. Then they want to complain about like why they don't have certain things. Well, you got to do something for it.
Yeah, is Memphis a tourist city to you? Like when people ask me about it, I'm always like, I mean, I like living here. Don't get it twisted. I'm a Memphian, but it's like I don't know what I would tell someone who's visiting here to like necessarily do.
Yeah, I say it is.
Okay,
but you have to figure out what are you into? What are you coming to Memphis for? I mean, you can go to, we got a safari park in Jackson.
Or is it Jackson?
Yeah, in Jackson. I mean, you can, if you want to still consider that, vacation to Memphis, but then we also have a really nice zoo here. Or
that is true. That is like a top 5 zoo.
Yeah. You can go to Overton Park or you can go to the clubs and bars. Like, what are you into? And Memphis has a little bit of everything,
That's
but,
fair.
not a lot of that.
Right. Yeah, you just listed a lot of things that I do often, but I just, in my head, as like a resident here, I didn't take them to be attractions. Because I go to them so often.
It's just a thing.
It's just a thing. Right. I didn't even, I stopped. I was like, yeah, the zoo is like nationally recognized. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was listening to, I don't know, maybe that or an article, but they were talking about how great the zoo. I have yet to go to the zoo here.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't been putting it off. I just
haven't done it.
Yeah, since it's right there, I'm like, I can just go whenever I want to. But I hear it's like one of the best zoos.
I have been going to that zoo since I was 3 or 4 years old. And I mean like free ticket Tuesdays, like me and my mom would walk in just the zoo every Tuesday.
You really?
I was there like for months on end and then, it diminished over time, but the zoo is definitely like a core piece of the city.
Yeah.
I feel.
I would say really like the biggest thing about Memphis is the food. Like everybody wants to talk about the barbecue.
City.
So
yeah, it is a great food city. Even outside of barbecue, I feel like Memphis just has good food.
I think so.
In a lot of regards. There's a lot of small mom and pop businesses that are really good. But I'm not the biggest barbecue head. What's your favorite barbecue place? Because I'm not.
Honestly, I haven't had a lot of good ones. I will say Barbecue Shop.
Okay.
That one's really good. And Elwood's.
Elwood's?
Yeah.
All right.
Those are probably my favorite two so far.
I'm kind of like, I'm very anti-red meat at the moment in my life.
Okay.
So I was like, barbecue is a hard sell when you're anti-red meat.
Yeah.
But interesting.
That's another thing I wish Memphis had was more like not so much like vegetarian or anything, but like
just diverse.
Yeah, more options like that.
Right.
There's not a lot. I mean, we're also in the South where everything's
we are
fried.
in the Bible Belt. Yeah, we are in the Bible Belt. Everything's fried. I will say though, with the whole like, there's a few options throughout the city. But you are right. It's not the most diverse food city. Yeah. By any means.
You have a lot of options of the same kind of stuff.
Right. There's a Vietnamese shop. There's an Indian place. There's a Korean deli. There's like 10 taco trucks. There's like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of bar and grills.
Yeah.
Like a lot of delis. But yeah, once you start whittling through those, it's just like your traditional fast food places.
Yeah.
After that.
And I'm a huge fan of just like getting that broad range of food and stuff like that, because to me that tells you what the city's like.
Well, yeah, once you have a diverse culture, it
Yeah.
becomes a melting pot of food. Food is like an indicator of how much of a melting pot your city is.
Because you know that restaurant's not going to survive if people who like that kind of food aren't there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's how I feel about like just the energy of a city, and like how fast is that city going to grow?
Is it food?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And to me, look at Memphis. Like,
That makes
they don't
sense.
have that broad, right?
Yeah.
You said you might see one Indian restaurant, one Thai, one,
Yeah.
We've got Bahama Breeze in Cordova, stuff like that. So, I mean,
I forgot Bahama Breeze is still up. They've been around forever. I've never.
oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. The one on the corner, of
Yeah.
Germantown. Yeah, they've been around forever. I've just never tenured them.
Because it seems like more of a, like,
It feels chainy to me. It
yes.
feels real chain. I don't know. Is it a chain or is it?
I actually don't know. I don't know if there's more than one.
Screen man, Google that.
But yeah, I think, just showing that that culture in the city is going to predict how fast it's going to grow, and all the stuff you're going to be able to have. Like, they're not having a music business association in Memphis.
Well, so that's interesting. That company I mentioned earlier by the name of the Digilog. So they exist in the space between tech, music, and community building, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of their goal is to, connect the music industry through social media, through community building, all those good kind of things. And so they have curators all across the country. They have LA curators, they have New York City curators, they have a Miami curator, Nashville curators, just major central music cities, right? And so with that being said, I'd be remiss to say I wouldn't want them to have like a Memphis curator. And then like with that door being open, maybe, events like that would, be open to the city more so. If you have someone in their ear going, hey, let's do something in Memphis. Because there's a thriving, I wouldn't say there's a yes, there is a thriving music scene here. And it's scattered. It's not infrastructure. There's a lot of different pieces. This side of town doesn't, they don't connect over here. And then there's just a lot of segmentation and segregation amongst everybody. And I feel like if there was even just a group of people, or just like a collective of people from different groups, just kind of working together to connect everybody, it would be for the greater good of the city. So if I might just send this clip to the Digilog themselves. Hey guys, if I'm gonna send this clip to somebody at the Digilog, please look into like getting a Digilog Memphis branch. We would love it. There's a lot of people in music here, and we just want to like help the city grow as a whole. Thank you.
Yeah, like for real, those communities and associations that can basically like put things in place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people who are, whether you're, young, like Sun Person who's like 17, or you're, in your 30s and 40s and you used to make music with Project Pat.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you need like organizations that are going to help
Just connect those dots.
Yeah, connect the dots and just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and then to double back on like, I think this was the first topic we talked about, but that whole idea in the 60s that we were all like macho man, I got to get it for myself. Some of that energy still is existent in Memphis. Everybody's so like, it's me or nobody else, or it's so cutthroat, and like, which it is. We live in an impoverished city as a whole, so like we're fighting for scraps of bread for the most part. But I mean, like, to an extent, we can share each other's scraps of breads and put together a whole loaf.
Yeah.
Excuse my lame analogy.
I mean, I agree with it, because a lot of times people, they get in that mode where it's like, oh, I've got to do my own thing and show everybody that I did it by myself.
I'm him. Like, no one else can compare. And it's like, nah, bro, like, we don't have to do that.
Exactly. And that's something that, like, when you're in the music business and you're like talking to people like that who have that kind of attitude, you're just like,
you pick up on it. It's very easy to pick up on.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so easy to pick up on. And it's easy to pick up on when like someone's doing anything with ulterior motive or like any reason behind it. It's not the hardest thing in the world to pick up,
Yeah. And those kind of people are just not going to have the attitude you want to work with. And then I tell people all the time, if anything, be nice and or kind, because at the end of the day, people are going to remember you. They're going to be like, oh, oh, that was a cool dude.
Cool dude. And it might be just that. You know,
and the fact that they'll just like welcome you, back to, whatever occasion or something like that, you're going to get your foot in the door just by being nice and or kind.
It's the bare minimum. And then like, if on top of that, you have traction in whatever field you're in or whatever the case may be, then, doors just continue to open. But at the bare minimum, just be a cool, nice person and things will go your way more than likely.
So when you are working with, whatever artist, is there a certain amount of like, I'm thinking about you saying bare minimum. Like, is there a certain amount like of information or something that you believe that they need for you to start working with them? Like if a new guy came to you and he was like, I don't know anything about music, but I want to do music. Or do you need like, all right, I need somebody who's this far along?
Well, I feel like it would be a bit egotistic for me to say, hey, you have to be X, Y, and Z because I'm only a year into this thing, right? I started doing artist management when I was like officially like I was 20, maybe 21. I was 21. I'm 22 now. It's been literally a year, right? But with that being said, I don't know who said it or where I got it from, but you don't need a manager until there's something to manage, right? So like, yes, if an artist were to come up, I mean, it happens all the time. People follow me on Instagram. They'll send me music in my phone to my DMs or whatever the case may be. But it's like, I can't do anything for you. Yeah. So you pitching yourself to me doesn't help you nor me. With that being said, that's why a lot of my platform is geared around, artist education about the music business. Just because if I can't manage you. I can't manage every artist in the world, right? That's just not plausible, nor does every artist in the world need to be managed. But if you can go to my Instagram or if you can go to a TikTok or go to a YouTube video, coming shortly, provided I make these videos, you can find a source of information where, it may not be like, I'm not an industry vet, but I'm going to give it to you how I feel is, just truthful and genuine. And it may be a remedy to not having a traditional manager, right? You can go watch a YouTube video or a TikTok from this kid who just wants you to see you win. But I don't know. That's how I look at it, at least. But yeah, I mean, not to ramble on, but definitely you don't need to be managed if there's nothing to manage. I guess that's my answer.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. And some people don't think about it that way. They think, a lot of people think that like the manager is like okay, you're going to run my life for me and I just don't have to do anything.
Yeah, no. I tell the artists I work with this often, you're the engine. Like, you make this whole thing work. Like, I just come in and fill in the pieces like a jigsaw puzzle, right? So like, if you can't do X, Y, and Z, I'll come do Z. Right. But you still got to do X and Y. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? Or like, if you're not pushing me, it's like a coach and a basketball player, right? Like the coach can't want it more than the player does. Yeah. Like the coach can yell and scream and to give you all the strategy in the world. But if you can't go out there and execute, or if you don't have the hustle to go dive on the floor for a loose ball, like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
And it's pretty sad, I think, in the industry because a lot of artists don't really understand like the whole concept of the business, or they just don't understand them as a brand. Like, you're a brand.
Too. Yeah, you're a brand and a business. And to be fair, branding is a tricky subject for a lot of people. Like, branding isn't something that just comes naturally to a lot of people. Yeah. I do feel like you do have to do a bit of homework and, study about like the subconscious elements of branding or just the visual elements or just all kinds of, small niches that go into branding. There's a reason why it's like such a studied subject. But yeah, I do feel as if a lot of artists are just like unbranded, and it's like, or if they are branded, it's like the things they do like detriment their brand equity. Like, for example, the artists who, and this isn't to rag on anyone who's promoting their music, but the guy who will promote his music 20 times in one day and none of the content is like substantial. Right. So now what you're doing is, I've seen this piece of content. I'm a follower. Let's imagine I'm a follower. So I've seen this piece of content from you 20 times today. The music is subpar or whatever the case may be. And now I'm like just jaded to looking at you because you just put this in my face 20 times. I'm annoyed. And now I just don't want anything to do with you. That's like if Coke put out, a terrible product every day and just shoved it in your face, as opposed to, their high-end subliminal marketing or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of artists don't really understand like, how to make that happen, how to make that marketing idea, fit,
Their
them as
niche,
a
yeah, who
yeah.
they are as a person. It's a hard thing. Don't get it twisted. It's like that's not something that comes naturally. And trial and error is the best way to go about it. So, to the guy I just ragged on for 20 posts, keep doing what you're doing, but just continue to learn from what you're doing as well.
Yeah, and that whole I guess recalling like what you're doing. Like
Right.
don't just do stuff and then be like, "Oh, that didn't work. I don't know why."
Yeah,
Like
yeah, no, like,
look over it.
so, yeah. I mean, that's another thing. It's just like doing what you do and like breaking it apart into a million pieces and being like, this worked, this didn't work, this worked, blah 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 blah. Like, before we even got on air, you mentioned my last piece of content I put out. It was a 3-minute video on Spotify editorials and some of the data associated with them. Great video. I think this content writing was cool, but first thing I said to him was the lighting was terrible, atrocious lighting on my part. And if content, at least in the short form era, gonna work, it's gonna be has to be really well lit and white and grab your eye the second it comes on the screen. So like just like things like that, like don't be afraid to pick apart yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we do live in a world where everybody's criticizing everybody and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I got the point of your video. You know what I mean? Like I didn't need some people are really picky and they need that big attention grabber.
Right.
But I'm the type of person like I was like, oh, that's that guy I met in Nashville. I wonder what he's got to say. I'm genuinely interested
Right.
in that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. I thank you for that first, but thank you for that. But I do feel as if like when you're aiming to reach, like at least when I create something, I'm aiming to reach the largest group of people I can, right? So like, I don't know, it reached you, so then I know the content itself and the writing of the script and the editing worked, but then like it's just breaking apart what works and what doesn't to me. I think
yeah.
that's a big thing for me. Every time I put anything out, just really studying what worked and why it didn't work or what, you know what I mean, going from there.
Yeah, I am a huge person when it comes to like, I feel like I'm an anomaly. Like I try to, because when they say like, I guess just everybody or most people.
Right.
Who's most people and who's everybody? And I always feel like I'm an anomaly when it comes to anything statistically wise. But so I'm the type of person where if I've got a friend that puts out music, like I'll just buy their music.
Yeah, yeah.
And not a lot of people just do that. They just buy music.
No, they
And
don't.
I feel like sometimes it can be really hard to track that kind of stuff. So is there anything that you begin to track like you did the Spotify stuff? So that is, recorded by Spotify, but I think the average person could figure out that kind of stuff if they were really interested in the information of like why things are happening the way they are.
Right.
So if you've got something like TikTok, you post something and it could either get 6 views or 6 million views.
Right.
What are the kind of like anomalies that you kind of look out for, or you just dive into whatever?
So I'm new to TikTok. I'm like 4 or 5 TikToks in.
Okay.
Quite honestly. So I'm not like Mr. TikTok expert, but with anything, I'm sure you can like, and TikTok's a different beast because, virality just picks up randomly. But I mean, I think not living by it, but like, working with the idea of I can just like being intrinsically critical. So like, I know I can improve my video making. I know I can improve my script writing. I know I can improve my actual production quality. I know I can improve my distribution. I know I can improve the thumbnail. Like just taking the things you can control and then just continuing to improve upon those as much as you can. And then leaving the things like virality or just algorithmic, how many people you get in front of just out of your hand and just continue to create. Because at the end of the day, like what good does it do me to be like, damn, I made this 3-minute video, took me, 8 hours to edit, whatever the case may be. Like, quite honestly, I probably spent 8 hours total on like a 3-minute video, right? I could sit here and like just be real emo about it, like, damn, I put 8 hours into this video, 500 views.
Yeah.
Or I could be like, okay, cool. I put my 8 hours in. I got that practice in video making and production and X, Y, and Z. Next time I'm going to make it better and let's see what happens again. And then again and again and again, because like, it's like the idea, like, I don't know. I always feel like my next work should be my best work. So I'm not really. I don't know. I don't really try to pay attention to the like statistical anomalies or how can I go viral. I just like focus on what I can do, and then let it go from there.
Do you ever try to get out of your realm of whatever your normal is? Like
Every day.
Yeah, you just sitting in a chair or something, or you outside, or
Every day. Even today, I was writing a new script for a video, and this time I may go more animated, right? So like, I'll probably do a lot of. I'm gonna have to teach myself how to do it, of course. Like I have no idea on how to animate right now, but give me like 2 months. But it's gonna be more animated and more comical and satire in nature, or I'll do one video where it'll be literally just a like I have this idea for a TikTok series called All You Need. It's literally just gonna be all you need to know about the music business, and then it's just gonna be short form TikToks, right? Like the traditional short form TikToks. It'll probably just be me in a headshot, as opposed to me in a chair. Or I genuinely love music, and I don't get to talk about it enough just because how busy I am. But I want to do like a playlist curation series where it's like I text you like, "Hey, can you send me a meme and 3 songs?" That'll be the whole series, and just getting people's taste. And that'll be with like people who are in the industry or working with the industry or just media personalities in a whole. So like, for example, someone like, and I don't have this connection obviously, but theoretically, let's say I do, I would text Charlemagne and be like, "Hey Charlemagne, send me a meme and 3 songs that correspond with the meme." And that would be it. I'm saying? You get a meme and 3 songs from Charlemagne. So I'm not scared by any means to just try different things, because what's the harm in trying it?
Yeah.
I will say the execution and actually making it of a pristine quality can be hard when you're just bouncing around. But I'm 22. I'll figure it out as I go. I'm not in a rush to grow overnight.
Yeah. That was something that, and I think it was a professor that I had on the podcast one time. He was like, he said, I'm running out of, what did he say? He said, "Oh, I don't have enough time to be wrong." And I was like, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it was like,
because we were talking about the difference between like older people making decisions and younger people making decisions. And he was like, yeah, young people can make all the dumb decisions they want, or like reckless decisions they want, because they're young.
right.
But when you're older, it's like, hey, let's get to the point.
That is interesting. When you said it just a second ago, I interpreted it completely different. I was like, in my head, he said, what was the quote again? He said, "I'm too old to be wrong," or
God, I don't.
Yeah, we're both scatterbrained. I'm getting too old to be wrong. Anyway, the way I interpreted that in my head was like, he just doesn't look at being wrong as a thing. Like,
oh, I don't have enough time to be wrong.
I don't have enough time to be wrong. See, the way I interpreted that in my head when you said it was literally me just like, oh, he doesn't believe in being wrong. So like, so the case, and not like in a like toxic way, but like, let's say he does something, instead of like going, oh, I was wrong, or I was like, it was bad. I learned from it. I moved on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not beating myself up.
Yeah.
Is where I took that.
Oh, okay.
Because at least that's how I approach a lot of things. Like, if I do something and it doesn't work, cool. Learn what you can from it, and let's move on to the next thing. Like, there's no point. I don't have time to sit here and wallow in being wrong.
Yeah. That's how I am. Like, if I've messed up and I've done something, I'm just like, all right, how do I correct this?
It is what it is, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's already happened. I can't change it. Now where do I move on from here?
I can't undo that text I sent you at 3 a.m. It's in your phone. It delivered. I saw you read it. You didn't text me back, but it's whatever, I guess.
And you're done from there. You are done from there.
I'll just text you next week.
So when you are thinking about all these things for how to put together like a brand or a market for this artist,
right?
Is it difficult to get that through to the artist?
Oh my God, yes. So difficult. I have an artist and I love him to death. I love him like a brother at this point, but I won't disclose his name. But he's the most stubborn, hard-headed dude in the world, and he has this vision of how he wants to approach things, and I'm like, that's cool. I get it all. And creatively, it works. Like, I get it from because like I'm also a creative, so I get it where you're coming from an artist's perspective. Like, I'm not strictly just Mr. Manager, marketer, like numbers guy. Like, I get it from a creative standpoint. But from like a manager's perspective, I'm like, yo, you are shooting yourself in the foot every time. And so there's a lot of like back and forth and just like constant arguing. But To answer the question, there's a lot of things that I'm like, yo, we need to get this through this kid's head, but it's just not going. But I mean, that's a part of the battle. I feel like, especially as an early stage manager, I don't have the luxury of going, nah, just not going to work with you. Like, I'm going to go over here. And I don't have that clout. I don't have the power of someone who's done this for 10 years to be like really picky and be like, you know what, you're not doing what I say. I don't like your approach. I'm just going to jump ship and go over here to this other super talented kid where I have all the resources in the world to put him on. Like, I don't have these resources, so I have to choose and I use the word products loosely because they're humans, of course, but I have to choose the products that I work with very carefully and be like, okay, there's a lot of scalability here. I'm going to stick to this and see where it goes.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to try to explain to somebody, like, this is how I think you'll be successful. Because a lot of people are like, I know how to be successful, especially artists.
Okay, well, and it comes with finding personalities and people. Well, because artists are people at the end of the day. So it's like finding people and personalities that are like, they have an ego, right? Because we all have egos. And honestly, I'm learning that the more you tap into your ego, the better off you are, as contradictory as that sounds. Like, keep your humility and understand that you're just a regular person. But like, you can't be your super confident self and like, you know, extrude that energy if you don't have an ego, right? But it's about finding like-minded people in that same sense. Like, hey, I'm super confident. I know this is what I want to do, but I'm also understanding that like, I'm also just a person. I make mistakes. I'm going to be wrong. And so it's just finding those, you know, just finding people who like think like that, I guess, or is one of the big things for me at least.
Is Son the type of person who he seems like he seems pretty smart? Right. So I don't know, was he uninformed and then you've helped him get informed, or is he self-taught?
He's super like, I'm gonna teach myself everything I can, and if I can't teach myself, I'm gonna find someone who can teach me. And that's the same mentality I have, and I feel like that's the same mentality a lot of young, I guess, digital entrepreneurs my age have. Is like, I understand I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to do my best to find them, or find, you know, semblances of them or breadcrumbs of answers, and then surround myself with people who do have those answers. So in his case, before I even met him, like, he knew what he was doing to an extent, and he still is very calculated. So with my relationship with him, it's a lot of just coming in and refining the puzzle at the moment. And then I'm sure as we get bigger and bigger and grow into what we're doing, there's going to be things that I don't know, and there's going to be things that he doesn't know, as, you know, the scale of the operation grows. But at this current moment, I feel like he's very well informed. But even this morning, he'll call me randomly throughout the day and just ask me questions. So it's not like, you know, he's Mr. like know-it-all either. To answer that question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good for people to have that info, and then also good for them to know that there's a lot more, you know, a lot more out there, because I think a lot of times people get to a certain point where, so let's just say he is the best artist that's in his
age range or demo or whatever the case may be.
If he feels like he knows more than most people, then that is now true to him, and then he might feel superior.
Your perceptions are your reality. Yeah. That is a really slippery slope. It's like, you can be confident, bro, but just don't be like Mr. like, I'm better than the whole world. Yeah. Like, nah, I don't. He's not that though. And I'd check him if he was that, like, if I'm being honest. Like, and I mean, I've surrounded myself with people who will check me. Like, I have a friend who every time I say a sentence, he'll just say, I feel it, but I don't feel it. And so, you know, it's just a way of prodding you and being like, okay, you're saying this, but do you really like firmly believe what you're saying?
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to have to, you know what I mean? You're going to have to show me. So,
what are some things that you felt like make a good artist? Like, this person knows what they're doing, they can be a good artist.
Sonically, businessly, what criteria are we talking?
Whatever you
anything?
Want to go. Yeah.
Man, I feel weird answering that question because I'm not, by any means have I broken an artist.
But still, I mean, you like music.
Yeah,
so
that's I'll go from a consumer's perspective, I guess, more so. A unique sound, of course, that's a cliche answer, but a unique sound, the ability to keep the audience guessing, well, I guess some artists do the same thing over and over and it works for them. I don't know. I don't think there's that question is age old, but I don't think there's a formula anymore.
Yeah.
Like we exist in a world where literally anything can work.
Yeah.
Right. You can, whatever you can dream of, it could, like, for example, 2 years ago, I didn't even work in the music industry or knew anyone in the music industry. And now I have like certain people's numbers in my phone that I'm like, oh my God, this dude does crazy things,
Yeah.
So it's like, you can dream up anything. So I don't want to necessarily say there's like one formula for an artist being great. But for me, the artists I like and the ones I'll like enjoy working with or just think have like more potential are going to be the artists who understand more so the business aspect of it all, understanding like you're a brand and you're not just like a regular person. But then again, there's also artists who move like regular schmegular people and that works for them. So, I can go on like a list and contradict myself all day, I think, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that you feel like a person has got to have, and then
someone else comes and shows you like, nah,
yeah,
I just broke the mold. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
I don't even want to box artistry in like that. I think we do exist in a world where you can get away with doing anything. I'm sure there's a lot of. It's easier to list the things that like you can't do. So like you can't be. No, I think you can literally do anything. Like I think if the right people are behind you and you come up and you approach something the right way, there's a market because we exist in a world of marketing to the smallest possible audience.
You
right?
can create a market for anything.
You can create a market for anything if you do it right. So I don't even want to say like, you know what I mean? The only thing I can say is like just if you have a bad product, like at the end of the day, like and product as a market, brand, all that, like not just sonically, but I guess the only thing I would really say is like if you have a mediocre product, it probably wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like if you have a good product, bro, you can literally go anywhere with it if if luck falls your way too. I don't want to sit here and act like everyone can do everything. Like a lot of luck falls into this and knowing the right people and being in the right place at the right time. So, but if the odds are in your favor, I don't see why you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have. It's a great problem to have is where, in the beauty of America, you can do what you want, and people are getting creative. They're doing some much different things as an artist. I feel like with this going forward, it's going to open doors for people that in genres that we never seen before.
Right,
freaking Sun and Jay,
Blue Jay. Shout out Blue Jay. Blue Jay crazy.
They were showing me what Hyperpop was. I'd never heard of Hyperpop until they showed it.
I love Hyperpop. I'm going to be honest. I love Hyperpop. You know what's funny about Hyperpop is it's like so it's not even I'm young. I'm super young. I'm 22. But it's like my generation isn't even like fully engrossed in Hyperpop. Like the 17-year-olds and the 14 to 18-year-olds are like that's like their shit.
Oh, okay.
From my understanding of it. I just enjoy Hyperpop because I've been put onto it, but like it's not super prominent even amongst like my age group, from my understanding at least.
Honestly, to me, it sounds like old music, like the first electronic type music, but just like on steroids. And
and a lot of it. Not to like disenfranchise a lot of the kids who are making it. It's like a lot of it is just bedroom music. Like there's kids who have all these crazy influences. They load up FL Studio, find a plugin that works for them, and they just click clack all night till they find something, and then they walk out with a product. And it's like, I don't know. It's very interesting, and a lot of it tends to be some of the most genuine forms of expression because they're not sitting here thinking like. I mean, they may be. Let me not do that. But, like, they're not, like, so stressed out over, like, is this record going to be a hit or blah, blah, blah. It's just, like, they're going in there, they're creating something, and they walk out.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing, and I love it. Like, I love, just being around younger people who have this much different perspective of what's going on. Like, I could be like, oh, man, Drake's running the game right now. Meek Mill's in there too. And then I hang out with somebody who's like 18.
And they're like, yo, shut up about Drake. Like, no one cares about Drake, bro.
They could be thinking about somebody else is running the game. And we could be living in the same city. There's so many different aspects. There's Are you in the same city as that person? Yes or no? Are you in the same age group? What events are you going to? And these can change what people think is the hot thing right now.
And it gets deeper and deeper, and it's like, what socioeconomic background are for you? What's your familial structure like? What religions do your family practice? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's so many, so many like, I guess demographics and like just characteristics of people that can shift their opinions on things and what they like to consume. And then that just goes back into our earlier conversation of like, there's so many niche markets, right? So like, some kid who's really into a niche hyperpop market will be like, nah, like I think Can is the greatest thing on earth. Don't ever talk to me about Drake again, and you don't even know who Can is.
Who is Can?
Can is a artist. He's blowing up. I don't know what his numbers and stuff look like, but he falls into that like hyperpop kind of space. But yeah, there's like some people on the internet like proclaim him to be like the greatest thing ever.
That's so crazy.
And like you don't even know who dude is, and like that's just how it works. You know what I mean?
Shoot, I remember when somebody told me about what's that dude's name? PewDiePie. I didn't even know who that was.
That's funny. That's so funny to me.
And he was like the biggest YouTuber.
I was watching PewDiePie when he had like 100,000 subscribers. But I was also the generation that like YouTube first hit. Like YouTube came out 2007. I was on YouTube when I was 8 years old, watching like the first
consuming.
Yeah, like child. I was the lab rat for YouTube. So that's very interesting that you say that. I was having a conversation with someone else earlier, and she runs a management company out here in Memphis called the Song Shack. But me and her were having a conversation, and she was like, "Yeah, I had to teach myself Excel spreadsheets or something of that nature." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I was 8 years old and I knew how to run an office suite. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about right now?
Yeah, I mean, people have those different types of skills, and it's just like, what's going on? Because like, so you seem like you're good at like multiple different things. Mm-hmm. Do you find it weird when somebody else can't grab something? You're like, what are you talking about? You don't know how to do this.
I don't want to say that. I don't ever like shame anyone for necessarily not being so adaptable. But in the back of my mind, that's weird. I don't want to I don't think that because then it's a slippery slope, and now you're being judgmental and mean, and it's like that's not me as a person. Like I want to like be yourself, bro. Like if you're not good at doing 10 different things, perfectly cool. Like that's whatever. I will say though, like I do find that I have like this natural affinity to teach myself things or learn from others, right? So like even when I walked in this room, I was just staring at all. Like I even asked you about your equipment over here. I just started asking questions about equipment. So like now that I've walked in this room, and funny as this may sound, like I now have like a deeper understanding of how to do a podcast. Like it's silly in nature, but like I genuinely like have this belief that like I can look at something, study it, ask a couple questions, and I can go do it myself. Have you watched Naruto?
No.
You haven't? Okay. There's this character in Naruto, and there's a lot of characters in Naruto but they have this ability, they have this special eye called the Sharingan.
Okay.
And so what like the base level of the Sharingan does for these people is they're able to read movements and like analyze those movements, and then as they like are watching them, they can now like mimic them and do them themselves. So like in Naruto, there's like you can cast like it's called ninjutsu, so you can cast like special spells and all kinds of crazy things. And there's this one character, his name is Kakashi, and like his name is Kakashi of the Sharingan, and he's literally called the copycat ninja because he just looks at people. He's like, "Oh, that's cool. I see what you're doing over there. Here, I'm just gonna do it.
And you can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it too." And I've told that to like many people. Like there's this one guy I met. He runs a cool Discord server and he does Twitch streams. His name is Kayvon. He's the artist relations director at Genius. And I like straight up told him, I was like, bro, what you do with your Discord is super cool, and what you do with your Twitch streams is super cool. If I ever like find the time or like have the passion for Twitch streaming or Discord or building like a Discord community, I'm literally just gonna go to your Discord community, look at what you did, and like just follow your model. And like I have no shame in telling people like, yo, I see what's working for you. I'm just gonna bits and pieces of it. Yeah, you know.
That's how I am. I say if you ain't stealing, you ain't trying.
Great art, great artists borrow. I won't say steal, but great artists borrow. There's this anecdote I heard from David Bowie. It was about David Bowie, right? So what David Bowie would do for his creative process is he would take like a bunch of song lyrics from X artists. And then he would take a bunch of paintings from X artists, and then he would take, whatever. He would just find a bunch of different material that inspires them and then throw them up in one board. And so now we would have one piece from here, one piece from here, one piece from here, one piece from here. And then he would just merge them to create his new, his own entity.
Yeah.
And like, I heard that a couple weeks ago, but I feel like I've been doing that naturally forever. Like, I'll just like I'll do, okay, I like how you do this. 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 I'm going to take all 4 of those elements, put them together in my own unique way, and now I have a product instead of like having to like teach myself from the ground up. I'm just going to take the examples that exist and, make them work for me.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like, just take something that's already there and make it your own.
Right.
Like, don't completely copy people and don't try to like
completely reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, reinvent the wheel and create this thing that isn't developed. There's stuff that's already developed, and just take it and roll with it.
I'll disagree with you on the don't make stuff that isn't developed. I think especially with like young kids, like son, like he is like, I don't know what he was doing one day, or he played something and I was like, yo, what is this? But then I had to step back and I was like, you know what? Nah, like let this be like something that isn't naturally in the marketplace yet. Let him be let him be the first. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you know what I'm saying? You tried like
experiment.
Yeah, just experiment with like crazy different ideas.
Yeah. It's a great thing to do that sometimes, because I think when you are trying to get into the game, you need to have an identity. Like that's going to set you off. Just have this identity. But once you've gotten that identity,
you have the room to experiment.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's how Post Malone was. I was just watching some stuff on him earlier, but like
he did do the whole, okay, and I have no hate against Post Malone, but a lot of his early work was very cultural appropriative. Yes. Very, very culturally appropriative. Grills and braids and rapping about Allen Iverson. It worked for him, but was kind of.
I don't know if it was just he grew up, or because I'm 29. I think he might be early 30s or late 20s.
He's in that, yeah.
So maybe he was just young and
doing things.
Yeah, just thought he was doing what he wanted to do, and he's changed, or some people just change.
Well, and this is an interesting topic to stumble into, but a lot of people who may be behaving in culturally appropriative manners don't always see it as that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing, X, Y, and Z because I like X, Y, and Z, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when Kim Kardashian had box braids in her hair, her reasonelle was, I just wanted box braids. Like it wasn't some deep thing, but to the cultures or to the like where these things come from, like they're significant to people. Like, anyway, let me not get too deep into that, but because I'll go off.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody has a certain thing that they like to do, and people change a lot. I was actually listening to. Have you ever heard of Bobby Osinski's podcast?
Bobby Osinski. No.
He's got a great podcast for the music business, and then there's also what is that other podcast? Oh, it's How I Built This.
Okay.
And that's by NPR. But basically, they just take famous people who run businesses like, or you had to have started the business. Mm-hmm. So they had on the guy who owns Home Depot.
Okay.
He started that company.
Right.
So they basically just asked them questions about their life and, how they got to where they are now. And I was listening to one they had on with I think it was the manager for Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And they reached a point to where they felt like they had her where they needed her, and she ended up wanting to break off from her management.
Okay.
And I heard something about it, and they were talking about, what was it? I think it was just like, did you notice the change in Lady Gaga's her wardrobe, her music, like all that stuff from when she was with that management until, the point she is now? And I was like, I never thought about it, because she used to be very flamboyant and all this stuff.
And it was a bit calmer.
Now she's a lot different.
She's a bit more Hollywood.
Yeah.
That makes significant sense. That is an interesting thing. So you think the management was pushing that more radical decision making?
I don't know. I don't know if it was they thought, she would be best off this way, or if it was they were just letting her do that. They were letting her do what she wanted to do, and now she feels she needs to change. Well,
Right,
she is older again.
Yeah.
I don't know if this age thing is changing people, but
That is super interesting. There is, once you're in that Hollywood space and playing the game of like pop superstar, it's a whole different
she
game.
did that movie with Bradley Cooper,
right? And well, even before, I was referring like even when she was just a huge pop star, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're in that space, it's like it's a whole different world, right?
Yeah.
You're doing everything for numbers, more or less. Like it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
You're you know what I'm saying? You're competing for attention. You're doing everything for numbers. So there could be a world where like those managers or the people behind her were like, Gaga, dude, wear the meat dress.
Yeah.
Gaga, wear the meat dress.
The meat dress.
Wear the meat dress, Gaga. And she probably, maybe she got older and she like was like, this is toxic. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You're pushing me to do things that I don't want to do at all. And I mean, that doubles back to our conversation where you're like, do you have artists you work with and you have to like argue with them to get certain things through their head? And it's like, yes, but then like in the case of like, I would never want to be in the case of like a guy like that situation you just mentioned where it's hypothetically they're pushing them to do X, Y, and Z, or they're forcing them to do something. It's like I kind of approach this whole thing with like, have you watched Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I approach this whole thing with like a Tyrion Lannister kind of energy about it, and it's like I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you options, and I'm going to strongly advise for certain options over the others.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do, but this is what I recommend.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like it gets real toxic and it's like, oh, Viraj is like being an asshole again and he's forcing me to do this, that, and the third. And it's like, you know what I mean? I don't want to, I think a lot of managers in this industry look as artists as products. Mm-hmm. And while, yes, they are products, I also want to keep the humanity of it all.
Yeah. But, it's a slippery slope. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like sometimes people just need that guidance. They just need somebody,
like someone to be like, "Nah, shut up and do this."
Yeah. I mean, people just need that other person on the shoulder,
right? I feel it.
It doesn't matter if what the decision could be. What they're wearing. The type of music that they end up dropping, or brand partnerships, whatever it is. Some people just need another person to help them make decisions.
That's fair. That is very fair. I think that's the case with a lot of high-level managers, especially once you get more experience in this, and it's going to be, because, I don't have a lot of experience, so I'm not going to be so hard set on, like, this is what we have to do. Like, I know this is what's going to happen if we do, but I'm sure, like, in the case of Gaga, maybe she had a more experienced manager, and they were like, nah, we know what to do, and this is what you need to do.
Yeah. So
I'm sure that can also come with experience.
Yeah, to me, it can be a good thing for people to, make these changes and do different stuff. We've seen multiple artists get dang near crucified for doing different kind of music. The most notorious one to me is Lil Wayne's Rebirth. He had all this rap music and then came out with a rock album.
And you know what's funny? Rebirth is loved by my generation.
Really?
We love Rebirth. Oh, I mean, let me not say we as a whole, but we like the genre of rock rap is huge now, and I'm pretty sure Rebirth is a huge part of that.
Shoot, it might be able to, like, we have these what do you call them? It's just like your catalog, your legacy, like a legacy catalog, where this older music that people are getting introduced to, they're like, what is this? So have you seen Ozarks?
Yep.
So not spoiling any of this, but on the last episode, or the next to last, and some of the last episodes, or I think it's just this whole season. But anyways, Ruth is listening to a lot of Nas.
Right. She's always been like a big rap head, right? Throughout the course of the show.
But it's just like, I was trying to explain this to my wife in the business of making money in music. Mm-hmm. Like, the music that she's playing in that came out in the early 90s.
Right.
So that's crazy to think, like, 30 years later, Nas is music,
still
is
still
making this
impacting.
impact.
Yeah, to the point where it's getting sync license, even from like a meta standpoint, where it's getting sync license on this major Netflix TV show.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Even outside of like the realm of that character.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, that being able to get people to understand that as well, just like the whole, hey, make music that can fit, a certain TV show, a certain movie, a commercial, a brand, like something, because that's going to open up more doors for you.
Well, and yeah, literally, and that's the conversation. When we started this, and you asked what we did in Nashville, that was when we went to that first studio in the day, and we discussed like being able to get your music licensed and synced in certain environments, or making music for the purpose of selling it to synced agencies, and just getting briefs and learning what a brief looks like, and going from there. It's not being such a intrinsic creative expression, and more so of creating a product for a company.
Yeah. It's really cool for people to be educated, to know what they're doing, because then you don't have to do all the thinking. Like if your artist understands some stuff, he might be going out and seeking those kind of opportunities.
And that's funny you say that. I tell Sun and D Alex this every time I get the opportunity to bring it back up to them. But I've said it a million times, and I'll say it to the camera now. There's more money in me teaching an artist how to build $1 million business than there is me building one for them. Because now that I know I can teach somebody, I have a formula for online courses, and the future of education is not existent in the traditional college space.
Thank you.
Granted, I just got my degree, like literally a month ago. So take that with a grain of salt, and I want to get a doctorate. But the future of education does not lie in the traditional systems. And so if I can, like I just said, if I can teach somebody how to build something, it is much, much more profitable than me being able to just build it for them.
Absolutely.
Because now I can teach this kid who knows absolutely nothing from zero, and he doesn't even have the resources, but he's going to tune in and buy my course pack or buy books or whatever the case may be. And then just the doors that education opens up for you is significant. But
absolutely.
Yeah, education is very important.
What are some things that you're looking forward to coming up? Like any kind of events or things that you're doing with your artists?
So we have Twin by D. Alexander is coming out this Friday. Great R&B record of the year. Sun Person is going to be back next month. I don't want to give you guys an exact date, but we're going to be back with a song called Deuces featuring a guy named Jack Trillmore. It's going to be a great summer song. But apart from that, we're just working and building. He's closing the door, so I'm running the show solo at the moment. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on. And honestly, I don't. You know what's funny with this whole journey we're on as a unit? We have concrete goals, of course. Like a big goal is like to go on an international tour or get a #1 record, which is all cool and all. But honestly, we just wake up every day, do what we're supposed to do, and see what falls in our lap, or not falls in our laps, but see what comes to us.
Those are great things to have as goals, aspirations of wanting to accomplish, whatever you want to do. Because sometimes, like, I talk to certain people and I'm just like, I can't even see it in their eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that hunger in your eyes, or that I'm about to get stuff done today. And some people, they just don't have it.
I used to have that, or I mean, it'll come back maybe, but like, I don't have that so goal-oriented mindset anymore. A lot of my mindset is like, I'm going to work as hard as I can, create the most fulfilling life I can for myself, and just live with where the results are. Like, obviously I mentioned before, like, I want to go on an international tour. I want to grab a #1. Like, those are cool, but I'm not sitting at home and like having like a daily goal or a monthly, like, I'm going to get 500 new followers today and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. Like, that works for a lot of people. Just for me and my own mental clarity, it just, I don't know, it doesn't benefit me in the way it benefits other people. So for me, it's a lot less about goals and just building the systems to do your best every day and seeing where it takes you. Because I'm much more journey oriented than I am like goal oriented. I find pleasure in like the process as opposed to the end result. And not to even ramble on, but like even with this whole management, do you ever get like in music or just media in whole, with people like, man, you're gonna make so much money in media or music, or I hate that. Like I'm not in this for money. Like money is great. Money is what's gonna feed my children. Money is what's gonna build generational wealth and hopefully, escape my family from like having to work a 9 to 5 the rest of their lives. But like I don't do this because like I'm like I want to fucking make $1 million off of it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm just doing this because this is what I enjoy. This is what I want to do. And like, I want to compete in this sport at the highest level. It's less about the money and more about like an ego thing, I guess. And just want to be like the best I can be.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to put it. It's when you really are into the business and you truly believe on what you can provide to people,
All right.
the product of the artist, you are just happy with that. Like
Yeah.
you don't need everything else.
I would have quit a long time ago if this was a money thing for me, if I'm being honest. Like, bro, there's plenty, and you probably get this too as an entrepreneur or just being in media and music. It's like there's plenty of nights where you're like pulling your hair out, like, yo, I want to give up. Like, I do not want to do this anymore. And then you wake up the next morning and you get back to it. But like, if you're so just like money oriented, and I've been around people whose like whole thing for being in music was like the money and the lifestyle, and like they just don't have like a deep spiritual connection to it, and it's like you're gonna burn out probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like either because like with the money thing, there's gonna be some kid who's hungrier than you for money somewhere, and they're gonna outwork you. So either you have to be hungrier than the person next to you, or you have to love it more than the person next to you.
Facts. All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
All right.
Go ahead and give everybody like your info.
You can find me at Hey It's Viraj, HeyItsViraj on all platforms. On TikTok, there's an extra S, but by the time you type in Hey It's, I should pop up. Yeah, D-Alex May 27th, Twin drops then. So if you're listening to this, please tune in. I would be greatly appreciated. You can find him at DAlexanderIG. Shout out Sunperson. He's at sun.person, so son.person on Instagram. He just dropped a single, Loved You More. That's sitting at 50. I believe we're sitting at 40,000 streams. My numbers could be off, and then he'll be right back again about somewhere at the end of June. So look out for that. Apart from that, thank you for having me. This was a pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to chop it up some more because
Thank you.
I love just bouncing ideas. You seem very bright when it comes to music business. So, yeah, it's something that we got to do. Got to be
problem.
around people who are progressing.
I am just a student. I am nobody special, you know?
I believe it. All righty. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in. See you next time.